So we've got some dark wood over there. There's only one overhead light in this room, and it's kind of cloudy outside, so it's a little darker in here than I would like, but we can fix that pretty easy. The Sony a7 III is great in low light, so we can crank the ISO up pretty high and still get great results. So I usually shoot at either 1/80 or 1/100, somewhere in there. If it's really dark, I might go up to 1/40 if I have to, but typically I try to stay on 100 or 80 just so I don't get too much shake in the camera, in the picture. We'll get blur, especially since we're combining photos together. I need them fairly sharp to be able to line them up depending on the lighting in the room. So this is an f4 lens, so I can only go down to f4, which is fine. Anything any larger aperture than that, you start to get some bokeh effect, which in real estate I don't like. So that f4 still lets me shoot and keep things fairly sharp. In this room right now, to be exposed, you can see we're just a hair overexposed, but I want to make sure I get some detail in these shadowy parts because we'll expose for the windows with the flash shot. And so I'm actually at 2500 ISO right now, which is nothing for this camera. It does a great job handling it. So I'm gonna zoom in here and you can see my shot. See how wide it is with this 12mm. But I'm gonna zoom on in because I kind of want to focus on that corner. I love that corner, very classic, very charming. So we're gonna zoom in. I'm going to adjust just a little bit, probably here, just enough so I can still see some detail in the shadows there. I'm going to touch to focus on that stair rail. And I'm going to snap a shot here. I usually just get two, just in case I miss focus. And so then we'll take our flash shot. So basically I'll leave these settings the same. And so what I'll do now is kind of expose for those windows. So you can see down here when I get to about 100 or so, you can start seeing the detail there come back through the windows. And on the phone here, you can see it, a little better. So we've got that detail. And then what I'll do, let me zoom this back out. So we'll crank this on. I typically shoot kind of on the higher end of these levels here. You just select manually. I can flick my switch on here. And then you'll see, so I'm just gonna kind of hold it, point it up toward the ceiling. It's kind of hard to do one-handed here, but just for the video purpose. And then we will snap. So now we've got our flash picture exposing for the windows, and you still get some of that detail over here, like in the bottom corner of those shadows and whatnot, whereas when you're just looking at the raw camera screen here, you can't see any of that. But once the flash pops off, you can see that. And so what we'll do, we're going to combine this and this, and you can kind of see the difference in light even right here. All right, so we'll hop into Lightroom and Photoshop to finish that up. All right, guys, we're in Lightroom now. You can see here, so this is our ambient shot. You can see the windows super blown out there. But in the shadows here in the wood, I'm gonna lighten that a little bit. So we're gonna just start by adjusting the highlights and shadows and whites and blacks. So we're pulling those down to get more detail in the windows, even though we're going to add some later. And then we're going to pull that up to bring out some of the detail in the staircase here. This is just to kind of even out the lighting in the photo overall. So just more of a flat, even photo. You can see there's a little bit of noise there, but it's okay. We'll take care of that later. Also gonna do our lens correction here.
so that everything lines up. Then we're just going to copy that. We're going to paste it onto our flash shot. So this looks like our flash shot here I want to use. So we pasted that on there. You can see it's still a little bit darker than this ambient shot. So we're going to brighten it up just a little bit. Remember, we're mostly exposing for the windows in this shot. So overall exposure there looks okay. Bring it down just a tad. And then we want to adjust the white balance so that they match as well. I'm just going to pick this spot in the ceiling here that I'm doing on both of them. Let's see. That's pretty close. Maybe something like that. A little too warm. Let's cool it off a little bit. So I'm going to select both of these now and go to Edit In, Open as Layers in Photoshop. And so what this is going to do is just bring both images into Photoshop as a layer, and then we'll use a mask when this gets opened up. I'll show you real quick. And we're just going to blend the two together here, blend these two layers together. Just going to copy or select both of these, and I have a shortcut, Command A, to do auto align, or you can also go to Edit and then click Auto Align Layers. I always do auto, does a pretty good job. And so what that did was just line up all of these lines and edges in the pictures, so that when we start layering them, they'll line up perfectly. So what we're going to do is move our flash layer to the top here. You can see it's on top. We're going to click mask, and actually while holding Option, we're going to click the mask to completely cover this layer. So we're blacking it out, covering it up. So now, even though the layer is visible, the mask makes it not visible. So we're going to take a brush that's set on white, and then we're going to brush the windows from the flash photo into, or brush the windows from the flash photo so that they show through the mask. And so essentially we're layering these blown out portions of the image from the flash photo, if that makes sense. So you can see just that portion that we brushed over is from our flash photo, which was exposed for the windows. So now we can see the trees outside, and then just kind of even that light out. And do the same over here in the entryway where this window was. And I'm gonna switch it to black, and because it came over onto this wall a little bit, just kind of brush that back. And then I'm gonna take this white brush and do a few other places on the image. You can see, you know, that's the two windows, but we're gonna try to even this out some more. So this bright spot here, like the floors and the ceiling, and then a little bit on the wall there where the vent is. We just want to make that lighting more even with the rest of the image because it's just really bright. So we're just going to brush over these. So what this is basically doing is letting a little bit of that flash photo shine through, so not all of it. And so we're kind of getting the best of both worlds. We're getting a little bit of both images. And then on this bright spot in the floor here, I'm gonna brush that out. And then over here, so our flash photo on this side of the doorway was actually brighter. Some on this wall. And this spot here looks a little dark, so I'm gonna lighten that back up just a hair. brush on this door. The reflection off that window is kind of bright. Make sure I get all of that on here. I'm gonna make this smaller so I can get along the edge of this doorway, so we don't get that like halo look. Same over here. Make sure this is 100% clear. Okay, looks pretty good. So now you can see all the parts of the flash image that we have essentially let show through here. This is what's showing of that flash image on top of our ambient image. So we just close that and save it. What it's going to do is pop back into Lightroom here. So now we have that combined image, and we'll just add our final touches here in Lightroom. And maybe over-rotated it a little bit there, so we'll turn it back. It's so good we got rid of the white edges. And so then once again, highlights and shadows, whites and blacks, just to even the image out. And then we'll use the contrast here in just a minute to add a little more contrast back. Because when you do this with the highlights and shadows, it takes a little of the contrast away. We don't want to go too extreme, but I do like to have it a little bit of pop to it. So leave it there, and then we're going to adjust this overall exposure just to brighten up the image. Let's see with our white balance, a little bit warm maybe. I'll come back to that. I'm going to add a little bit of clarity and a little bit of texture just to help sharpen the image up. And then our, I don't really mess with the tone curve. Our color mixer is where I do a lot of work, pretty much mess with every single color on every image. Just because when you've edited it this much, the colors just aren't accurate. So I will take these and slide them to 100% just to see where the color pops out in the image. So you can see when we do the orange, obviously all of the wood tones, that's where our orange is in the photo. So that's what I know I'm adjusting here when I'm moving this slider. I want to desaturate those because the wood was kind of a darker tone. It wasn't that orange in person. Same with the yellow. You can see around this trim is white in this entryway. So if we turn that up, we can see that that's actually showing yellow, but we want to desaturate it some because it's really white. So we'll leave that around 30-ish. Green looks like it's mostly in the windows, so sometimes it can show up in weird places, like here in the top of the wall. But mostly in the windows, so I'll probably desaturate that some, but not go overboard. Same with the aqua, don't really see much of that anywhere. And so then the blues here, see in the ceiling and this edge of the trim, anywhere that the window light is hitting is giving off a blue hue, even though it's, you know, nothing in this room was blue. So what we're going to do is desaturate that blue a pretty good bit so that the whites actually look white. And we don't see much of those colors, so we'll just desaturate those some to get rid of any color noise they might be adding. Then we'll mess with our hue. So orange is obviously a big color in this image. Push that into the yellows a little bit. And the yellows were more so in that entryway. So I'm gonna push that up a little toward the green. And our blues, I pretty much always move the blue down toward aqua. It's just more natural. Mess with our luminance. So we'll darken, no, maybe I'll lighten those wood tones a little bit, just kind of bring a little life back to them. You can see that's mainly just on the entryway door in there, in that other room. So let's see, bring that down some, and then our blues for sure. Boost those a little bit. And the greens you can see are mostly in the windows, so we'll bring those down and bring a little bit more detail back to the trees outside. And then this yellow, it's mostly in the entryway as well, so I'm just going to brighten that up so that that room, the lighting in that room looks even with the rest of the photo. So I don't really do much color grading or tone curve. Color mixer is where I do most of that work. Always add sharpening, usually go around 75, and then I usually put my mask around 25. Don't know why, that's just what works best for me, and that's what I like to do. So I pretty much stick with that for every picture, and then I'm about 25 on luminance and noise reduction as well. Lens correction, just to catch anything we might have missed. And there we go. So before and after our final retouching here in Lightroom. So we took this from 2 images to this.